Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about the 1972 science fiction film Solaris. Right there. Kind of see the poster. This is a Soviet film directed by Andrei Tarkovsky. Highly acclaimed film that won the Palme d'Or at the Canne Film Festival the year it came out. It is based on the 1961 novel of the same title by Stanislaw Lem, the Polish writer. There are some big differences between the novel and the film, which I will get into. A little bit on the director, Tarkovsky, highly acclaimed Soviet filmmaker with movies like Andrei Rublev, Ivan's Childhood. He would make another science fiction film called Stalker later in the 1970s. Solaris is really about the emotional journey of space travel. And just to talk a little bit about the basis of the story. So, you have a planet called Solaris, and it's almost an all ocean planet. And it's believed by scientists that the ocean is actually alive, it's a life form in itself. But science cannot really understand this life form at all whatsoever. So, and the novel really focuses upon that idea a lot. It's almost an anti-science fiction film, if that makes sense, where it's about science, human science, failing to grasp or understand an encounter with another life form. And in that sense, it goes against a lot of science fiction movies of this sort, which are all about finding intelligent life and communication or conflict, or some drama will come out of that, or even something spiritual or philosophical will come out of that. And this story takes a very different approach. It's about what if we would encounter a life form and would have no way of really trying to understand it. And in fact, the more they try to understand it, the more mysterious and the more even ominous it becomes. So the novel does a great job of the terror of encountering the unknown, not in this Lovecraft type way where these are evil, malevolent forces. It's just about the terror of not knowing, or not knowing what you're encountering. So the movie, just to talk a little bit about the movie. So the main character is, I believe Kelvin is the character's name, who is a psychologist who is on a mission to go to the planet Solaris. Chris Kelvin's the character's name. And there are scientists at the space station there, and he is assigned to join them to try to figure out what's going on. And once he arrives at the station, he finds that indeed some very strange things are happening at surrounding this planet. So now, about the first 45 minutes of the movie, we're with Kelvin at home with his family, which is not in the book at all. In the book, we arrive right at the space station, and that's that. But in the film, we get a lot of him with his parents. A big part of the movie is he has lost his wife, who had died tragically years later, so he's still trying to make sense of things, and he's deeply troubled about his place in life and what everything means. And there's this very effective part early in the film where there's a shot of freeways where it's simply a camera speeding through a speed freeways through kind of a POV shot, and then we cut back to the characters who are contemplating their lives. And it sounds boring when I talk about it, but it's just a very effective, almost hypnotic scene as we spend with these people driving. And then the camera pans up, and highways look like circulatory systems from high up. They look like arteries and veins, and that gives you the sense like the planet itself, Earth, is like this living organism. Okay, we think of ourselves as individuals, but the movie is really interesting with its visuals in that regard. So in the film, once he arrives at the space station, he discovers many strange things going on. There appear to be human beings appearing on the space station who are fragments of people's memory. And a big part of the story is that Kelvin's wife returns, Natalia, his wife, returns, and she appears to be just as she was, and for a while they're able to kind of reestablish their relationship, but then things get even more complicated as he discovers that it's not really his wife, that the planet has almost managed to take people's memories and reconstitute these individuals who live in our memory and bring them back in a way that they're the same person, but they're not. It's a very strange thing to wrap your head around in that regard, and that's really what the movie's primarily about, is the emotional journey of Kelvin as he tries to think about what went wrong with his marriage, the emotional journey he's going through at this space station, whereas the novel is more concerned with the science and the idea of encountering the unknown, of and how that would play out. So, and I know the author Lem was not happy with the movie because the movie was more focused on the emotional side of the characters, and a lot of the intellectual things in the novel were left out. Although we do get some of it. For instance, you'll have chapters in the novel where you have like debates among scientists through scientific journals about what Solaris could possibly be. Is it alive? Is it not alive? And things like that. And there's absolutely no consensus or anything the scientists can come to. There's a little bit in the film when Kelvin's back on Earth, and there's scenes of characters watching videos on the screen of scientists debating these things. So the movie does bring that point across, but there's also this idea of how can humans even begin to venture into space when we don't even really understand ourselves yet? We don't understand why we do what we do, and a lot of being alive and existence is mysterious to us, and there's really no strong answers you can come down on, and even there's this idea of a religious crisis in the film, someone in the novel, of the idea of encountering an intelligent species who can actually create people who have been long gone, and can kind of like mess with you in some ways, and things like that. So really, it's a harrowing journey through this film at what these characters are put through emotionally, where aspects of your memory literally come alive, and that's a big part of the drama with the film. Just a little bit about the filmmaking itself. It's a very meditative film. It's very slow paced. The set design is impressive on the space station. It looks realistic in that way. There's a lot of use of video in the film too, and the use of color is very innovative throughout, especially when looking at the planet itself of the ocean, and it's very colorful. It's almost like this Van Gogh painting of the way it shows the water on this planet. I know Tarkovsky took a lot of inspiration from artists like Rembrandt and other artists, and composed shots based on his art that he admired. So there is that in the film as well. So yeah, that's basically what the movie's about. Like, it's very meditative. It's a different approach to space, where a lot of Western science fiction is about the adventure of space, the exploration, whether Star Trek or, and humans will gain so much from exploration and things like that. And this is really about, no, humans will just, the mystery will only deepen for humans. And questions will even come up, do humans even belong in space, when we really can't even figure out how to do things here on our own planet, much less understand a intelligence that's way beyond ours, and these are questions I think that people don't like to think about a lot, because you do hit a brick wall when you think about these questions, and like higher intelligences and the place of humanity in space, whether it has a place at all. So it's a humanistic film in that way, where it's really about the human experience, but it's also a warning about exploration, and we might have certain expectations of what we would get from it, but what we're going to get is just more pain, more misery, more uncertainty. So it's yeah, it's interesting film. I was reading some reviews on Letterboxd, and a few of them commented upon if you're experiencing grief, and the reviewers were talking about how this movie was therapeutic in some ways, because it does touch upon the idea of memory a lot, and once we lose someone, and the idea of them only existing in our memory. So there is that side of it, really a meditation on grief and mortality, and things like that with Solaris in this film. So it's highly acclaimed film. I think it's a film, if you go back to it every few years or so, you'll have a different experience with it. And it's definitely a unique science fiction film. It was remade in 2002, I believe, by Steven Soderbergh with George Clooney, which was a more it's been a long time since I've watched that version, and I'm curious to go back and see it. But a very Americanized version of the story. I'm sure, but I'd have to go back and see it. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Solaris. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.